again, this is Robert Force and welcome to the Robert Force Show. I'm sitting on the floor of my kitchen, and to the right of me with this very elaborate camera setup, I have 4 dulcimers laid out. A friend of mine came to see me yesterday, Rod Matheson, and we talked about building, and I pulled out the instruments that you see here, one going all the way back to 1971, that one on the far end, which is really the prototype of the Force and Daché and eventually the Blue Lion dulcimer that bears our name. And as we were comparing the tones and what does this sound like and what does that sound like, I found myself playing all of the instruments simultaneously, and I became so enraptured, enthralled by the sound that I thought I'd go ahead and set up this elaborate camera shot and do a concert for 4 dulcimers for you. Some people have asked me over the years, how come you don't play flat lap style? Well, actually, this is flat lap now, so you'll be able to see that flat lap and tabletop style. And the other question is, well, we never see you finger pick, and this time, folks, no finger picks on the end of my fingers and no flat picks. So what you'll hear is concert for 4 dulcimers, and let's see what they sound like, and I'll talk a little bit about them when I get back up here. This dulcimer over here on the far side was built in 1971. And it's the prototype of the dulcimers that were to come. I built this with Jerry Beal as my teacher in Newark, Ohio. And you notice the scroll and had the slidable individual bridges back here and so on. And that was the first time that this patented sort of F-heart hole was born and put on an instrument. About 2 years later, in 1973, Albert Daché also apprenticed with Jerry Beal, and this became, after 2 years, a little bit shorter instrument. This one had a bass scale, about 29 inches. This one was brought down to about a classical length, 25¼ inches for the scale. And you notice on both of these, eventually we put those, Barkasberry pickups on them so that we could play them a little bit louder, a little plugged in, or something like that. Bink. Daché's custom exclamation mark, which I always like. If you could see close, if I zoomed in, but I probably won't be able to do that. Now, once he used to have an extra fret in here. That's why these 2 snowflakes are up here. And then he pulled it out. So it was in and out for about a year, sometime around 1973. Now, we built a whole lot of instruments between 71, 73, and this one, which was 1982. And I built this one in Port Townsend, Washington. And the woman who wanted me to build it for her wanted basically the same kind of design, so hence the scroll. And you'll see there's a lot of hand-cut abalone. And then back in here, which I thought was very interesting, there's pearl underneath what are Mastodon ivory sliders that slide back and forth. Anyway, it's a pretty instrument. It's got a nice tone. Roberta McCullum, and she brought it back to me about 6 months ago and said she had gotten an arthritis and an incurable disease and she wouldn't be able to play it. And so she brought it back for me to play. And this one here, one on the end, is the Blue Lion Force and Daché. This one was built in about 1991, 92 at the very latest. And this was the beginning of the prototype of the instrument that Bob and Janita Baker and I worked on to create this evolution of the instrument, get away from just the labor-intensive. That's very labor-intensive. It was all cut by hand. Anyway, so here we go. This is going to be a concert for 4 dulcimers. Let's see what happens. Well, I slammed the dulcimers together a little bit when I got carried away. Reaching out over. So that's 6 strings times 4, 24 strings. Eat your heart out, you hammer dulcimer players. We got it all right there. You know, sometimes when you have this drone and just being able to waltz and move inside the drone. I'll pick a tune that was sort of freeform though. So I'll pick a tune that at least has a recognizable melody to it, and we'll try it again. Here we go.